We were talking earlier during the break about who, because I'm going to come back to this, we're going to see some points on this, but who controls the modern myths today? Who controls the myths that are perpetrated today? Okay? That's exactly correct. Now, I mean, wait a minute, did I bring that? I think I did. I couldn't get this blown up, nor could it didn't want to print out very clearly. It's even hard to read and print, but I just want you to catch this, because what is a myth? We're going to define that. And also the fact that that the source has changed. How many have ever read any of Aesop's fables? Oh, no, thank you. Just put your hand. How many read Charlotte's Web? Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. You know, there is within our upbringing, culture, whatever, overarching stories. Stories that you mentioned the title. We all know what you're talking about. Okay? All know what that's. Yeah, recognize that. Okay. I would say perhaps in the last maybe 20, 25 years, that has changed as far as the source is concerned. Now, I'm going to just try to read some of this because it's still not even clear on this sheet, but the blue dot is starting all the way to the left. That's Time Warner. Time Warner, of course, is a major media company, and they are responsible for Turner Broadcasting, the Cartoon Network, HBO, Warner Brothers, DC Comics, New Line Cinema. From those, you have DC Comics has Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman. New Line Cinema has Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. Warner Brothers Pictures has Harry Potter, The Matrix, Blade Runner, Tomb Raider, Gremlins, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's just all in the purple. Okay? So all of that, all those stories have been told. All those stories have been told. Now let's go over to Walt Disney, right in the middle. Walt Disney. Okay, Walt Disney controls Marvel Entertainment, which Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, The Avengers, Mutant X, Daredevil. Then connected here is Pixar, Toy Story, The Incredibles, Monsters, Inc., Wall-E. Okay, also ABC Television, the series Lost, Earth's Final Conflict. I got something to say about that. Then Walt Disney's Pictures, Tron, Witch Mountain, Lone Ranger. I can't read that one. Pirates of the Caribbean. John Carter, which was a big dump. Financially, they got beat bad on that one. All right, so that's the blue. All right. Then the green is News Corp. I believe they're owned by, what's that fellow's name? He's an Australian. Murdoch. Okay. Not even a Yankee Doodle Dandy. All right. HarperCollins Publishers. So they, J.J.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis. I can't read that. So those are the publications. Then Harper Magazine. Okay. Isaac Asimov, he's a science fiction writer. I can't read this, okay. Then 20th Century Fox Television, owned by News Corp. So you have Buffy, you have Angel, you have X-Files, Firefly, something else other than 20th Century Fox. I guess that's the movie people. Yes, it is. Chronicles of Narnia, Star Wars, Avatar, Planet of the Apes, Percy Jackson. You know Percy? That's the green. And then the red is Comcast. Ah, it's my guys, yeah. Cable guy. Back to the Future, Universal Pictures, Universal Television, Battlestar, Galactica, Eureka, Tales from the Crypt, Warehouse 13. I don't know. Then Sci-Fi. So what are we saying? This is the purveyors of now the new myths. From this, a young person gets the idea that vampires are real, zombies are real, that werewolves are real, ghosts, paranormal, whatever, is legit, okay? I said it all began with E.T. Oh, E.T. If I had something like E.T. looking in at my window, I had a BB gun at that time. No, but it suggests that you invite some supernatural entity. You just become congenial. You welcome it. So the following time, a demon shows up, and we welcome that. We're not afraid of that. We just, that's E.T.'s cousin, right? No, but this is all preparatory work. Okay, now I have a quick video I want you to watch, and I want you to pay attention to the language. Now, this is just a clip, but from this clip, I went to YouTube and there were some introductory things said about him, but this is interesting. He came to America from Colombia to pursue the values that he saw that made America unique, and what they were establishment values. Okay? Honesty, just the virtues that we either have taken for granted and or have parlayed away as they relate to that. This guy, he's so dry. I can't believe how dry this guy is. It's scary. I don't know who he is, but he's dry.
It's much easier to be evil, to be lazy. It's much easier to be lustful and allow lust to prevail than to refrain it. It's much easier to cheat and lie than to be morally right and honest, and to be disciplined and to meet your commitments. It's much easier not to do those things. It's much easier to relax.
Listen to your conscience, for example.
Exactly. It's much easier not to listen to your conscience, to convince yourself that all of that is hogwash, in order to be free for freedom's sake. Freedom without responsibility.
Licentiousness, in a sense.
Exactly. Freedom comes with responsibility, because the question is freedom for what? I want freedom for what? In the ancient understandings from the Greeks and the Romans and from the Christian gospel and from the holy text of all religions, freedom was to create. I need to be free in order to create. It's not to be free in order to destroy myself and everything around me in the name of a very strange concept of individualism. The individual is supreme. In this new concept of moral relativism, the individual is supreme, above the purpose of the whole, above the purpose of the family, the wife, the community, everything. I am the supreme.
At odds with those things, you're saying.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it does not build. It deconstructs and destroys.
Another strength of America is the free market. We put a high value on free market economy, for example. Does moral relativism affect the free market? And if so, how? And what about vice versa? Does the free market affect moral relativism?
That's a very interesting question, because now we enter into the external part, the market forces. When you erode the base in which you stand with moral rectitude, what gives you the ability to be honest, the ability to withstand the winds of fortune with moral fortitude. When you give up all those values, the market that has its own dynamics, who deals with a different kind of value, which is the value of material, money, then what happens is that the lower part of human nature, the dark side of human nature, plus the market, rules, profit, what sells. So vice is sold at a high price, because it's much easier to be vicious, to be of a vice, to be
sinful,
to be sinful, to be immoral.
Uh-huh.
It's much easier to be addicted to sex, to drugs, to alcohol, to tobacco, to all kinds of things. It's much easier to be like that, especially if the market forces are mobilized to sell that. When I said, for example, when you see the way advertisement sells the dark side in underwear, for example, the sexualization of advertisement, the alley, you no longer fear the alley, the dark alley with all the things that are going on in the alley.
It becomes another option. It's just as valid as any other option.
And the market has an incredible ability to seduce, to tell you what you need, to tell you what will give you happiness, fulfillment, pleasure. It's all mirages. It's all artificial. It's all material.
It becomes the status quo in a sense.
Exactly. So moral relativism plus the market is dangerous, because you have vulnerable people
hanging in the balance.
Exactly, who become convinced, that it's only the material that will give them the happiness. Mm-hmm. And this material is connected with the senses, with the dark side. So this is a formula for disaster for people, especially for people who are weak, people who have weakness.
Okay. Now, you talked about this dark side. Do you think that we're created with this kind of innate contradiction within ourselves between good and evil, and a propensity for vice and a predisposition to give in to evil?
I personally don't believe so. And if you ask most religious people, most people, regardless of what religion they belong to, they will tell you that no, that man was not meant to be like that, that is the result of a separation from the Creator, from the values that the Creator had for humans in the beginning, what we call the fall of man. The fall of man separated man from, not only from God, from the ideal. So man in a fallen state is weak and has the propensity for vice. And people have profited from vice and weakness throughout history. And today they have perfected the art of profit from vice and human weakness. And moral relativism is the philosophy behind, to justify evil intellectually, politically, spiritually, psychologically, etc., etc.
Okay. Now, he said that to bring about some thoughts. What do you think about, did you hear him say, if you asked most religions, that they would say that man wasn't supposed to be like this? Meaning that man has a problem, okay? And the other guy said sin. He said that word sin. Did that just jump out? Wasn't that refreshing to the ear? He said, what do you mean refreshing to the ear? I mean, who talks about sin? Here's a television, I don't know. The guy says, you mean sin? What is it? Sin. It's what it is. It's not a disease. It's not a, like a fault or, a mistake or, no, the other guy kept saying the dark side. I thought he was talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know. I mean, just, that whole idea that, and you can hear the use of the vocabulary without acknowledging its source. And you will face this. This is kind of like a little apologetic sideline. You will face people who will have what sounds to be like the vocabulary of a believer and will say certain things. But if I understand these folks, they are into this kind of universal uplifting of a moral standard. And they understand how morality, can hold a nation together, and morality can hold a family together, and that's absolutely true. But that's why we took our time to teach on the fact that spirituality contains morality, but there is no need for spirituality in morality. So a man could be moral and not have to be spiritual, not have to acknowledge that he has a higher authority, any higher authority than whatever moral standard he desires his own or sets himself up to bow down. So this is the kind of environment that we are in as much as the way of thinking. Moral relativism is also, it is stating that there are no absolutes. All right? Ravi Zacharias said this, and it was so very good. He said, why is it that we teach moral relativism in our business schools, that there are no absolutes in our business schools? And then these guys go out and they create an Enron, and they actually steal, falsify records, cook the books, whatever the case. And then we want to prosecute them and put them in jail. He said we ought to prosecute the teachers. We ought to go to the university and said, listen, you taught these guys this stuff and they were true to what you taught them. And now you want to prosecute them for doing what you taught them to do. See? And So it's interesting that we'll hear this again and again when somebody says, well, there are no absolutes. Well, then you know what? You got a person who begins talking on the fifth floor of an argument. There is no foundation. There is no premise. And again, we don't have time to go in there, but they are intellectually dishonest people, but they don't mean to be. They've been trained to be that way. They've been trained to have the right vocabulary, start a conversation on the fifth floor, don't even check if you got a premise or a presupposition, that there's no logic to what they're saying because there is no absolute. So if we say there's no absolute, there's no need for a premise or presupposition or for logic to arrive to your fifth floor that you're declaring that this is true and I'm to believe it because you say it. And you say it with some form of authority or some emphasis of whatever. And this is the kind of environment. So the people that we are evangelizing have this as their frame of reference. And I'll close it with this point, they have been taught modern myths. Modern myths, okay? And vis-a-vis all of the sources that includes. All right, hey, well, let's do this. This is, we're finished with this. Sure.
Can you give an example or two of what are you referring to as modern myths, like on what level?
Yes, the entire, we said this during the break. So back in 2001, was the publication of the first volume of Harry Potter. And the book went international in 6 months. It was a publisher's, dream come true, if you want to consider that. But whose dream was it, really? And so then, and it was targeted to what was the age group? 8-year-olds. 8-year-olds, right? So now you take an 8-year-old and you track them with these books for 8 or 9 years. That, and then the movies, the whole industry, and it is an industry. And then just about when they are all finished, you introduce them now, because now they're teenagers. Now they're 17 and 18 years of in the relationship. So now you bring in this whole thing with the Twilight series, of which are now the romantic connections with a dead person. That true romance can be had with somebody that's been dead for 3,000 years or whatever. That's called necromancy. But in any case, and you continue them on in this mythical viewpoint that has sufficient enough input that they could believe that it could be true. It could be really true. So that's just one example, and we see the coordination between, and this has never happened before on the scale that has happened now. Literary and media. Either the book was written and is now being converted to a movie, or vice versa, or conjunction at the same time. That there's a stratagem to get the movies to reinforce the publications. Ooh, yes, I do. Any other questions, or is that, yes? What was that website you had on there? I don't remember. It was defining moments, that's correct. I should include, David, a disclaimer. The views that are appropriated by the are not necessarily the views of the pastor. No, I don't know. I don't know enough about. I just, I said, this guy's talking. He's talking the talk. Okay, and he might be establishment oriented, but it's very, very straightforward what the language is like. Okay. Sign of the times. Where are we living? Well, glad you asked that question. I'm going to take the next few minutes to share about this. Okay. I think very often we have seen and or heard comments made rather recently of the natural disasters. Okay, the earthquakes, the tornadoes, the floods, and rightfully so. Those events have happened. They've been recorded. They could be documented as being on some sort of escalating occurrence and all that. And then we find the connection between that and the Bible clock, if we could say, the eschatological clock that's ticking, indicating what time and what the end times. And my question is, and it's true that, of course, Jesus said that there'd be wars and rumors of wars, there'd be earthquakes in diverse places. But he said that, and he said it in the context of saying that, but that's the begin. These things must come to be. These things must happen, but this is just the beginning of sorrows. It's not like, how can I say, that's not to be the focus. That's not to be the driving factor. Because in human history, all those things have happened before. All right? I think it's just that there's a lot more attention given to them because of the way that they are brought together, the way that they are presented, okay? I mean, you can go and, you type in, 2012, and you got everything from the Maya Indians, apocalyptic events, the planets lining up with, vortexes of gravity pulling the earth. I mean, and then planet X is out here moving closer to the, on and on and on and on it goes. So my question is, what should we, we're believers, but what should we be occupied with? Truth, that's correct. More than that, souls, people. The clock that we're looking for is what's happening with hearts. What is taking place with people? And that is so critical. Because the Lord said in Mark 13:7, and when you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled. Really? The earth is going to come apart. Be ye not troubled. Really? It's fires and earthquakes and tsunamis and be ye not troubled. It's very interesting, Lord. I guess I shouldn't get wrapped up in that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because such things must needs be. But the end shall not yet be. Not yet. So what do? We look at souls. Let's turn in our Bibles to 2 Timothy chapter 3, please. 2 Timothy chapter 3. Wow. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This know also. Wow, I always like that, because it presupposes that I do know something. That's good, that's encouraging. I know a few things, Lord, yes. But this know also, that in the last days, what? Squirrelous. No. Perilous. Chalepos, meaning fierce. It is an intensity of fierceness. Now, what do you think of when someone is being fierce? What characteristics would we say make up a fierce person? Aggressive, number one. Good. What else? Viciousness, yes. That's the one I was looking for. Angry. Now, let's take a look at this. What causes a person to get angry? I mean, there's many things, but yes, Sean. Could you run that by me one more time? I saw this. The hijack I got.
It's the back of her head. It's called amygdala hijack.
Oh, yes. That's why I usually walk around like this. No, but the vibrations in the atmosphere, is that what you're talking about? And the pituitary gland being a receptor? Sean? Yes. Thank you. Let's join the conversation here. We're engaged. All right. Is that what you were referring to? Something like that? Yeah. Hypothalamus. That's right. That's very real. That is true. Yes. Oh, yes. Beautiful. When a person doesn't get what they want. Now, if you have one piece of pie, okay, and two people in the room, somebody could end up angry. So this is what we there's wisdom on how to handle that, by the way. If you ever get in a situation and there's, like there's whatever, something that needs to be divided equally between the two of you, do this. Give them the knife and say, I get the first choice. Settles it right there. You can rest assured that'll be the most 50 percentile cut piece of cake or pie that you've ever seen in your life. Probably take them 20 minutes just to size it up. Human nature, all right? Yes, anger comes from not getting what I want. And this is the thing that is driving people today in terms of like what was said on that little clip in terms of having freedom for freedom's sake. So does my freedom make any sense if I ask for the freedom to destroy myself? See? Because I absolutely don't have any basis for absolute preservation of life or a value of life other than the fact that it's mine and I can do. But see, even that position presupposes that there is no God, because Where did life come from? Well, I don't know, but it's mine. I got it now. I can do with it what I want. And if I can't do what I want with my life, that makes me angry, and I become vicious and fierce. Fierce. Some of it is exhibited on the highways every day. It's called road rage. Road rage. Somebody wants to come into my lane. I do not want you to come into. Oh, whose lane is it? My lane. My lane. Oh, you must work for the state. But that's how that works. So this fierceness, and it's grievous. It's grievous to live this way. So anyway, perilous times. Another understanding of perilous times, hidden danger. Because you know why? Because often anger is not so apparent. It is suppressed, or it's below the surface, but it could emerge at any point. Given, like how do we say, you're pressing my buttons. What do you mean? So I got some pent-up anger in me, and if you hit them buttons right, it's coming out. So perilous times include this thing called anger. Now, there are 20 distinct characteristics. And this is how we can understand what hour we are in. Not how many earthquakes, tornadoes, fires, or whatever the case may be. Those things must be. And then Jesus said, but the end has not come yet. And he also said, do not be troubled. Okay. Relax. So somebody, they sent me this thing, and they said, This is the first anniversary of the tsunami, and since that time there's been 25 other earthquakes over 5.5 on the Richter scale. I thought, okay. The only earthquake I remember was the one that ran through here. You do. You got probably more than that. I was studying. I was on this recline in my living room. And I think I told this to you already. Didn't I tell this to you already? I did. I got that far. But anyway, and I'm just very much, and I didn't hear anything, but the lays that I was on was like as if it wanted to take off, like as if there was something underneath it pushing it up. Now, in the very, very short period of time between that thought and the next thought, the next thought was like, if there's something underneath this slaze, I'm getting up off of it. But as I was getting up off of it, I noticed the windows were like, in the front of the house is shaking. That was the second thought. The third was very quickly right behind it. Get out of the house. Get out of the house. And so I bolted out the front door. But then I said, but I want to see it. I don't know what I wanted to see, but I just wanted to observe it. So I ran out in the front of the middle of the lawn, and I turned around, I looked at the house, and the house, and I'm standing there. I could just picture, because then my son and his wife come around the corner, and they're driving up, and they're looking at me standing out in the front of the lawn like. Well, I mean, it was maybe about. Yeah, it was a while back, August. Yeah, it was warm enough for me to go outside and not think about it. Anyway, and it went all the way up, East Coast. So, yeah.
Did you know that the Washington Monitor, did you know about the special cracks that came up?
Yeah, they're still working on it.
Almost like it was like God just like planned it, and you
Well, I don't know which way it was. All I knew was that if the house was coming down, I wasn't going to be in it. Number one. Nope. Nope. Garvey, you're being fierce. Now you ought to know better than that now. All right, so, but no, we are to look at what is happening in people's souls. What is taking place? And this is huge. So 20 characteristics, and we of course won't be able to go through all 20, but let's just touch base on a couple of them here. Number one, men shall be lovers of their own selves. Now, there is a proper self-love. There is a proper basis of, we could say, respect for yourself. I mean, and, you know, Psalm 139, I mean, just, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. See, my respect for myself doesn't come from my accomplishments or my achievements or you know, any of that thing. It comes from the fact that I have been made, and there's not one other human being like me or like you. You are amazingly unique. And that's the good, you know, and to appreciate. But you know, it's weird. So lovers of themselves, when it gets distorted, and this is what it's talking about. So a little girl grows up and she plays with the Barbie dolls. And in her mind is this imagery of femininity that was created out of plastic. And she will then begin to establish her self-image based upon something that is anatomically impossible, unreal. And from that, I mean, where do we hear, 100 years ago, anorexia? Where do we hear that? We don't hear that. This is a relatively recent phenomenon, but having impact. And you know what the crazy thing is? That the majority of girls who suffer from that are already beautiful. It's like they don't believe it. They don't believe it. And so the self that they love is not the self that they are, and the tension between the two makes them psychologically and emotionally imbalanced in that particular case. It's huge. What else? Covetous. It's like what he was saying on there, you know, that the force, the power behind the materialism of the age. My wife went out to get a tag sale. She went on a tag sale and she got a Gucci bag. I said, "Did you say a coochie bag?" No, she said a Gucci bag. I said, "It's the same thing to me." I mean, it's a bag, but because it has the 2 G's on it, you know, as the designer emblem. Well, as she was purchasing this bag, a guy came up to her and said, "Miss, I will give you $100 for that bag." If it was me, I'd have taken the cash. I mean, just like, "You got it, Jim. Come on." But then I asked the question. I said, how do you know, like, it's not a knockoff? You know, like, how do you know this? And, you know, I don't know what the explanation was, but it didn't matter to her. She had the real thing. Now, why do I have to have that? Why do I have to have Pastor Shallow was talking about the guys that you go to school, you go here to Benjamin Franklin Middle School. You got to have sneakers that cost $150 or something, and a hoodie that's like $80. Like, what is all that? I mean, yeah, that's where that is. The pressure is real. Covetousness. The desire for something that trumps reality, trumps anything. You just watch it as it comes around this September, and it will, going back to school, clothes. And I look at that and say, like, my daughter would not dress like that. Sorry, not happening. No. Mm-mm. And whoever designed this stuff in the first place. But in any case, so there it is. And the pressure to have that, to covet, to desire that is intense. It's very real today. Okay? Boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents. Wow. I thought all kids were disobedient to their parents. I mean, because of the old sin nature. That is true. However, it is the rod that corrects the child. Now, I don't mean the rod beating them. The authority that parents have been delegated authority over the child. Can there be abuse of that? Obviously so, but not even because somebody gives that parent authority. That parent could just be maladjusted anyway and would mess up anything. But the premise here is this: the child doesn't have equal authority as a parent. You got parents today that followed some philosophy that was, popular. You could get the books in the store. Be a friend to your child. That's called conflict avoidance. Whatever you need, honey, we'll just give it to you. It doesn't take long. Listen, old sin nature knows when it's running the show, whether it's in a 3-year-old or a 33-year-old. And this is the thing that is saying the disobedience is not like, just being hard-headed from time, but unteachable, unpersuadable. That's what this word in the Greek means. It means you are not changing in the presence of a greater authority. So that's why you spurn civil law. So the sign says 30, I'm doing 60. Officer, I just was, hey, I was in a rush. What you got to say about that? Somebody told me that they talked to a cop like that. I said, hey, you stand over there, I'm standing over here. I don't know about that. But see, it's not just disobedience to parents. Anything, it's a repudiation of any legitimate authority. And so you take it all the way up to who? The Lord. See? Then what else do we have here? Well, we got 15 minutes. Unthankful. Whew. Unthankful. Here's a person that believes that, here's their premise: life owes me something. I don't have to work. I don't have to get an education. I don't have to, I don't have to submit to this, And I think my approach is that life owes me something. So you've got this May, you'll have a whole cadre of college students who will graduate, and they've got their 4-year diploma. And right off the bat, you know what? They're going to think, I'm going to be making me $75K a year. Hello? It's like, why? Because I went to college. So did X number of 100,000 others also, you know. And, oh, boy, never mind, college. So, yeah, people think that, you know, life owes them something. And thus, even if you did something for them, they're not thankful for that. They say, I got it coming. You know, like, it's what I deserve. And when I don't get it, I get what? Angry. Yes. And back to point number 1 here. Vicious. All right? All right? Without natural affection, what do you think that means? Without natural affection. Yes. Self-centered. What else?
Superficial demeanor.
Okay.
We just kind of learn, like you were saying, kids watching Harry Potter and Twilight, and they don't behave naturally.
You're getting warm, but man, you got to go a lot further than that. You're getting warm, yes.
They don't love, if they don't love God, they don't love themselves. They don't love themselves.
That's true as a principle, but I'm going to mention something that you find yourself right involved with too, yes. No care for others, unnatural affections.
Just basic human good, not even that.
Gosh, you guys are, come on. Unnatural what? Affections. What's an affection? A feeling, what else? Emotion, what else? Sincerity, what else? It's a drawing. It's a drawing. Now, God created Adam. God created from Adam. Thank you. Natural what? Easily. Here comes Jimmy. And here's Sammy. Unnatural affection. I don't care if they pay taxes, cut the lawn, plant flowers. It's unnatural affection. But they'll teach it at the Benjamin Franklin Middle School that it's an acceptable lifestyle. And you are wrong at opposing it. Wrong. In fact, you make them angry. Which means then they're going to get, in your face. Well, anyway, yeah, that's what that's talking about. And that's only one aspect. Only one aspect of this unnatural affection. I can't, for the sake of modesty, go any further than that. But the things that happen these days, thank God we don't need to. We're over here, that's over there. But you may, see, this is the other side of it. We're going to knock on those doors. That's right. Knock on those doors. So who's in charge here? Well, the father's not here. The mother's strung out. The grandmother's taking care of the family. And I vibrate because that generation is going to pass on. And then there's not going to be that previous generation that have to do it all over again. Raise their kids and then raise their kids' kids. Unnatural affection. Yeah.
Is it like a child having more rights than a parent?
Well, yeah, I mean, that goes back to that. But how could that happen? What do you mean? I hear what you're saying. How could a child come to some sort of conclusion that they have more rights? Well, the parent, there's a mindset, and it was more prevalent in my generation, that each succeeding generation had to do better than the previous generation, right? See, so, like if nobody in your family had gone away to school, well, just this generation, we're going to send you to school. And that's an honorable and notable kind of pursuit. But then it gets to the point where, we live in a day now where the children accomplish less than their parents because they're not interested in doing all that. They're also in this list as we move along here really quickly. Truce breakers, they say and do not do. False accusers. Do you know that we live in a day and an age when somebody could come in here now? I don't ride in the car. The only two people I ride in the car of the opposite number is my mother, but she's in heaven, and my wife. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And the reason is because we live in a day and an age, and you look out in the parking lot, and I'm driving by, and somebody's there, and whatever the case may be. And it doesn't have to do with people here. But somebody could say, I saw so-and-so with so-and-so the other day. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. And it was totally straight, totally pure. But we live in a day when the atmosphere is so charged that people can say And then what I might say just in passing to someone else takes off like a scaled cat. And by the time you hear it, they've already had, 20 babies or whatever the case may be. And, I'm serious, right? It's that vicious, it's that intense. Somebody says, yeah. And that's why the Bible emphasizes out of the mouth of two or more what? Witnesses. Somebody says to me, somebody told me, I said, well, somebody told you, but don't you tell me. They might have told you, but don't you tell me. Because if they told you, that means you were not a what? Eyewitness. So what you have to say couldn't hold up in the court of law, and it's not coming into my court. Because that poisons me. I guarantee you. And anybody that says, I didn't believe it anyway. You are disqualified. You are infected by the information that's in your soul. Guarantee the next time you see that person, you're going to be like your brain's going to be scrambled because you don't know how to think because you heard something. Well, just stop it right there. You say, but it's somebody that I like. Well, if you do, just close that hole before it opens up one in your own soul. I'm serious about this. I've seen situations, never mind. But anyway, and you get that in a church because sometimes we call that fellowship. I just want to fellowship a couple things with you. I said, what's it about? Well, if it's about principles and ideas, I'm with you. If it's about a person, see ya. And that's part of the disposition here that, false accusers love juicy stories. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the kind of day that we're living in. All right. Then, incontinent. What does that mean? Without control. And basically, when a person is, without control, they either do one of two things or both. They either accuse or excuse. Accuse or excuse. Basically, they just blame their behavior on anyone or anything other than themselves. Oh, it wasn't my fault. No, man, it wasn't my fault. See, this is what happened. Let me tell you. If you were where I was. Okay, so then let's move right along here. Despisers of those that are good. The remnant that God reckons on is amazing. Verse 4, traitors. heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. I just think I'm going to sleep in Sunday, Oh, boy, it's a big week. See, I want you to see pleasure is not like you got to be entertained. Just self-indulgence. There's no, other than travel, emergency, death. You ought to know where you're going to be Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, or anything other. Why? People, if they treated their job like they treat services, they'd have 24 hours at that job. So where were you? Well, I just thought I'd, had a rusty night last night. Yeah, I said, yeah, well, you're rusty enough to be out of here. So this is the thing and this is a mindset. This is a mindset that I don't really have to be accountable. I really don't have to be accountable. I can just, I do my thing. You do your thing. I mean, am I really hurting anybody by not, come on. See, and this is the subtlety of it. But I mean, I'm sure you've heard that or even said it. Now, here's a big one. Having a form of godliness. Having a form of godliness. My gosh. This is why I had you see this video, like the vocabulary. Now, I may get in trouble for saying this, so I'm going to say it. A form of godliness, and the word here speaks of an outward piety or something for show. That's what the Pharisees were into. When they pray on the corner, just like, and so making sure that everybody sees them. Everybody has a visual aid. I don't mind fellowshipping with believers who when maybe that every exchange that it's brother this, it's amen that. Now, I guarantee you they don't speak to their employee like that. But wait a minute, you said, but this is we're family. We're believers in family. I understand that. Okay. But fundamentally, you could amen, hallelujah, praise the Lord all the way down the hallway. But I mean, when will you come visit me? Here's the point I want to make. I was talking to this person, and they said that they were going to a different church, and they got ill. And 3 days they were in the hospital, and no one from that church visited. Now I'm standing there. Somebody called someone that called me. Said, would you go and visit this person? I don't even know them. They don't even go to my church. I don't know them. But this person knows, and I said, okay. And I got there, and they said, nobody from my church has come to visit me. And it was just like lights on. It was like all of that which they thought that they saw couldn't even hold a candle to what they needed at that time. That's all. Another point. We knocked on a door, Jehovah's Witness. An elderly lady came to the door. And we said who we were and that we're here to share the gospel. And, and she said, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, but I'm not well and I can't get out. And here was the thought behind it. Because she couldn't get out and do the green magazine thing, in her mind, she wasn't going to make it. And nobody from Kingdom Hall had come by to see her for 2 weeks. She was maybe in her late 60s, but ailing physically. And while we were there, someone said, "Could we bring you groceries?" And she broke. I mean, it's like, like, what's that all about? Form of godliness. The Watchtower prints this is an old figure too, 57 million pieces of literature a year. Presses are rolling with that message. That message. Do you want that message? No, thank you. Oh, they got the form. They doing this, doing that, got nice buildings and everything. You're just picking on me. I guess I am. But you know what? It's out there. It's out there. And I think the distinctiveness is that when people can, meet you and they can tell that you're a believer, not because of your vocabulary, but because of your life, then you're doing the right thing. See? Doing the right thing. You're moving, spirit-led, not bringing any attention to yourself, taking care of what needs to be done. And you know what? And you don't need to be thanked, recognized, publicized, or anything else. You're just edified that you can even do that. Serve in the name of Christ. That's what people need. They know religion when they see it. And it's an ugly face. Well, this list actually ends in verse 7. Ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Ever learning. You know what I was thinking? There's so many things to occupy men's souls. There's so many things people get caught up in. I like history. I like World War II. I used to watch Victory at Sea every episode I could. Got the album, and listen to the music. Great music, by the way. Great. And so great. Yeah, all right. And but I mean, you know what? Like that's not going to lead me to Christ. But I could get absorbed in that. Something rather innocuous. I met guys. We were walking one fall, beautiful Bear Mountain Cavern, just beautiful foliage and everything like this. And we were out on a bridge that went over and looked down on some railroad tracks. And there was like 6 guys that were there, and they were just standing there. And so as we walked and we came back and we said, beautiful trees, foliage. Yes, very nice. Yes. Is the 17 coming? He's talking to somebody else. And you know what they were doing? They were waiting for a certain train to come down the tracks. And they were going to videotape it. In fact, they did. We just happened to be there, and the train came down and came and went. But they were like kids. Like, did you see that? Yes, I got it on. These guys, they belong to some train club. And then, lo and behold, I asked the question. I shouldn't have never done that, because then he broke out his album, and it was like, yeah, look, I got pictures of the Santa Fe out there going through the Grand Canyon. Hey, I thought, oh my gosh, this guy is like, they're strung out. I said, how much is it? Huh? No, this is real. And it wasn't one guy, it was like 6 guys, adults.
That's right. I work in the railroad.
I see, I said like,
Dressed up in the little hat.
But see, what do we say? It could be anything. Honest to goodness. The human soul, when we're empty, man, we'll suck in anything and get attached to something. ever learning something about this, about that, about the other thing, and never coming to the truth, which is a person, Jesus Christ. And when we get to him, park right there. Don't move, just park. And just teach me, Lord. Teach me, Lord. Teach me, Lord. Father, thank you. Bless this, Lord. Here we are. Whew. You're coming again. And that's absolutely true. And we're going to meet you. And then we're going to have the marriage supper of the Lamb, and then we're coming back with you. Oh, my goodness. And all of this, Lord, all of this has to do with all of that. Our preparation, our participation. Lord, may these next 2 weeks just be amazing in terms of what you're going to do and what you are doing. It won't be the end of anything. It'll just be the continuance of the one thing. And that's to set the Lord Jesus Christ before our face and to be occupied with him. Bless this to our hearts. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.